Hey, I'm Brian Hiatt. This is Rolling Stone Music Now. I have with me once again our friends Brittany Spanos and Rob Sheffield. And for once, we're going to talk about an album that we haven't heard yet, that no one's heard yet, that doesn't exist yet. We haven't heard a note of it. It's our Tortured Poets Department anticipation episode. There's already so much to talk about. There's fake songs, there's fake scandals, all manner of things. Tortured Poets Department is due April 19th, and we know the track listing. We know, I guess there's a few, it seems like there's a few, at least one line that's like in the album art.
Yeah, there's lines from the bonus tracks.
It's almost guaranteed that there's lines all over the place that we've heard yet that she planted years ago in her NYU speech turned out to be on this album. She does that stuff in Midnights when it was like breathe in, breathe out. And it was like she was already teasing this like in her commencement speech. So we almost certainly know lots of lines from this album that we just did not know yet was being planted.
That is a good point. I'm going to feed all her utterances into an AI and have it guess what the lyrics might be. People think that Fortnite featuring Post Malone, I feel like there's a vague idea out there that it might be the first single, but we don't know that.
The Midnights rollout was so much of the kind of, there was no songs, there's no hint of what the songs would sound like. There was nothing. And then we got the album. I feel like she's going to end up doing the same. However, she did announce it so far in advance that I can't tell. It's like a shocking amount of time between the announcement and the album that feels like there's too much empty space. There has to be maybe like a single this time. But yeah, there's no indication at all. It seems like she's teasing Reputation TV already too. So it's like...
Your restraint in not saying blank space is admirable. I think she released the song titles in part, honestly, because they're just so good. They're some of her best song titles, and I think she was proud of them. And they also are like extremely, how do I put this, provocative, eyebrow-raising, question-begging. And I think that it's just too delicious not to put them out would be perhaps my guess.
Yeah.
Hey, Brian, all's fair in love and poetry.
Starting with instant Easter eggs, the title, of course, instantly relates to a certain ex. Certain group chat that a certain ex had, and was that and the songs were enough to seemingly prompt a preemptive PR salvo from said ex, saying that he's happy to be excluded from the narrative or whatever. Seems like there was a slight panic somewhere in London, that there was a flurry of panic, and it does seem possibly intended to, among other things, cause that panic. If you look at the song from the title of the album to the song in question, and then so track one is Fortnite featuring Post Malone. There's a probably fake leak from it floating around. I must say, it's a good fake. It's a well done fake.
I'm like, if this is AI, I need it. I love whatever that is. I can't tell what it is. But also the other reason why which is why it's confusing as well, is that the song titles were leaked. Those got leaked, Grammy leak, and no one thought that it was real because they were like, why would she release another album right now? But that's why she released. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
I had missed the leak, but then I found there was like a post that had happened. Like people were like, oh, these are the same song titles. I was like, what same song titles? But there was a leak at some point around Grammy time of the song titles, but no one thought they were real because they were like, why would she releasing?
We totally knew she was going to announce Reputation Teller's version at the Grammys. It was foretold. It was going to happen.
Yeah.
Which is why I could not actually process it in the first 5 seconds when she said it. She faked that it was going to be the Reputation TV on purpose. It was all these fake Easter eggs too. Very clever. It just shows there are no lengths to which she will not go to achieve the mastermind ends that she wants to. But I'm embarrassed. Like that leak, or I feel like I'm going to be embarrassed because part of me really thought that leak is real. It's just a snippet of the purported chorus of the Post Malone thing. The only thing is, I'm certainly not going to play it or anything, but the idea is basically like that it's been 2 weeks. It's just literally the idea of a fortnight. Rob's sure it's fake, which I admire, and he's probably right. It's very well done. And so that's why the reason I can't say for sure that is fake is because I can't judge it from a 5-second snippet because there could be anything going around it. I feel like I'm in danger of embarrassing myself either way. If I say that it's absolutely fake, I can't be sure. If it's fake, they did a great job of writing a pretty catchy hook and getting Taylor imitators and Post Malone imitators to do it and then morphing their voices into Taylor and Post Malone. So kudos to that person. They should probably be doing something. They should be in music.
They should find a path that's more exciting.
Yes, assuming it's fake, there are going to be some people who miss the fake. When they hear the real one, they're going to be like actually disappointed that it's not real.
Yeah, we're in like that Midnight's moment where it's like that moment before Midnight's where no one could really tell sonically what direction she would go into. Midnight's obviously came after Folklore Evermore being her last new albums of all original material. The re-records were out. It was like, was she going to do the synth pop vibe? Was it going to be like more of the indie folk? I think this one is also like a little bit of the aesthetic feels so folklore-esque in a lot of ways, but also some of the titles too. But I think everyone's just trying to piece it together because we also still don't know, is this going to be another full Jack Antonoff collaboration the way that the non-deluxe version of Midnight's is? Will it be Jack and Aaron? I don't know. Will it be someone? I doubt it's going to be someone other than Jack or Aaron. I feel like those are her boys. But yeah, I think everyone's just like, what even is a direction are we going into?
There's definitely an element of, as in the gap between knowing a little bit about this album and not hearing it, fans cannot stop from tormenting each other with various manifestations of AI. One such manifestation is the quite amazing and ridiculous parody song that someone made before the Super Bowl.
So happy that my Travi made it to the big game. One step closer to Kelsey being my last name.
It's obviously any sane human being who knows the slightest thing about Taylor Swift I would hope, know that she would not sing these lyrics about I'm so glad my Travi made it to the big game. One step closer to Kelsey being my last name. There's no universe in which for a second she would contemplate making an actual song with those lyrics. However, I don't know about you, but I've seen, speaking of TikTok, I've seen so many people get actually fooled that is a real Taylor Swift song, which scares me.
I feel like the people I saw react, maybe I was also getting different videos, but like I think the reactions I saw were people like playing it for like their like boyfriends who like
I saw that too.
I feel like those were all the reactions. I feel like I didn't see anyone take it seriously who like should know better to it.
I saw maybe, to be fair, that's not the majority. I saw,
yeah.
There was like one day where that was all my TikTok was showing me. It was just to the point where, and I think we told Rob this, I think both of us like just had this ridiculous fake song in our head. One step closer to Kelsey being my last name. It is in its way a banger. It's not a Taylor Swift song, but there is something catchy about it. But so yeah, I saw maybe five to 10 people, super naive young fans, and a bunch of people's moms who are like honorary Swifties, totally loving it and thinking it's a real song. So it's not that many, but the fact that anyone freaked me out. So there's that one, which was never intended originally to be a fake song from the album. It actually was just a parody on another level that was repurposed for this. And then I've seen some horrendous, I don't know if you've seen this, but like truly horrible, obviously ChatGPT generated fake lyrics for the album. So they're posting like these horrendous fucking lyrics. And unfortunately, there's people in the comments being like, this is so me. This is what I'm going through. And I'm like, this is a fucking robot. Like, it's scary. People were just so anxious to hear from her that fans are tormenting each other with this absolute nonsense. But yeah, once again, she speaks to me and it's like there's minus 1,000% chance it's real. It's real, but that's okay. And then let's see. So yeah, Fortnite, Torture Poets Department, My Boy Only Breaks His Favorite Toys.
These song titles are so, like, when I saw these song titles, I also thought that they were not just like a fake, but a joke and a really clever one. And I laughed at the brilliance of the person who did it. Look, we're all haunted by Woodvale, right?
Yeah.
In my heart, I believed Woodvale was at least possibly a real thing. And Woodvale was so cleverly done, and some of it was like really funny, very overtly funny, but she is overtly funny. You can't rule it out on that basis. So Woodvale, I don't know about you two, it really permanently traumatized me into thinking that just because something is ridiculous and funny doesn't mean it's not true. And quite frankly, the idea of Fortnite featuring Post Malone is so inherently funny.
Yeah.
Go back and explain the Woodvale thing, which was like there was a faint imprint on the Folklore album cover of the word Woodvale, and she said on Jimmy Kimmel that it was actually just a code name for Folklore that was left on the cover by accident. Is that basically
in the hands of fans, it became the mythical third album in the trilogy, and it was plausible. Certainly, Evermore didn't seem plausible. It seemed ridiculous enough that Evermore was true. Honestly, it seemed ridiculous enough still at that point that Folklore was true. So there was a lot of, just because something seems too ridiculous to be true doesn't mean it can't be true in Planet Taylor.
Yeah.
It exists. It really exists in the same universe in which Radiohead fans whipped themselves into a frenzy when King of Limbs came out with the entirely fictitious idea that there was going to be that King of Limbs was only the first half of the album, and then a King of Limbs 2 was going to come out in about a month, and it never did. So in the same universe that King of Limbs 2 came out, that's where Woodville came out. So we just have to travel to that universe.
Except nobody said she's saving all the good songs for the third album. Was the Radiohead.
Yes, sorry to besmirch Evermore with the King of Limbs. I love King of Limbs, but that's a whole.
You do not love King of Limbs.
I actually really do love King of Limbs. I truly do. I love.
You love side 2. Side 1 is garbage. Garbage
is a little strong, but I like all of King of Limbs. I like.
You do not like.
I like the
Magpie.
parts of. I really do. I also like the parts of Tom York's solo albums that everyone else seems to hate. I don't know. I'm strange with my Radiohead.
I love his albums. We don't have to. We're talking specifically about King of Limbs.
And I do not like Moonshaped Pool. I have various eccentric Radiohead opinions. I find Moonshaped Pool kind of syrupy. But anyway, this is...
You rate it below King of Limbs.
I do rate it below King of Limbs.
We'll continue this conversation at a different time.
Anyway, Woodville, what you were saying is the concept of Fortnite featuring Post Malone, it was funny, is what you were saying.
Yes. Don't tell me you didn't laugh when you saw the song title. What would you imagine her album about breaking up with the guy in London Boy? Okay, there's going to be a song called So Long London, and there's going to be, which is going to have definitely like, it's been a fortnight since you left me on the forecourt and you took the lift. There's just the specifically British locution of it, and with featuring Post Malone, which seems so random. It's funny even if it's true.
I'm still, absolutely, it seems literally, featuring Post Malone has the quality of a punchline. It seems like a joke. I'm still hoping that it's somehow a thematic sequel or companion to Lana Del Rey's video games. I'm hoping it's the other Fortnite.
I have high hopes for the song in that I think it's going to be the modern version of the Sheryl Crow Kid Rock song.
Wow, what a great comparison.
Because I feel I have a vision, and I think it's going to be Sheryl Crow Kid Rock vibes with it because of Post Malone.
Wow, I love that. That's like best case scenario.
Yeah, because I've grown quite fond of Post Malone, especially when he's singing. And so I'm like, this is what I'd like it to be.
It's what I'd like it to be. But it does, again, like a lot of these song titles, if you were composing a very amusing fake track list, you would definitely put a song on it called I Can Fix Him, parentheses, no really I can. You would absolutely put a song on there called Bet Daddy I Love Him.
Yeah.
You would absolutely put a song called So Long London, but Fortnite featuring Post Malone is the comic masterstroke.
I also think a song called Florida with 3 exclamation points featuring Florence and the Machine really got me. I was like, can't imagine what this is going to sound like. Thrilled either way.
Amazing. The one song in her career where she's used an exclamation point is Me. So this
and
is
Slut.
Oh, yes, wow. And Slut. That's a great point. So this is going to be a peak for extra exclamation points.
But Daddy I Love Him is amazing. I did not think of the Little Mermaid thing. It's not the kind of thing that I would have come up with on my own. But the idea that it's likening it to a Little Mermaid situation involves the taking away of the voice of the protagonist. That may be an extrapolation to a reality that doesn't exist. I was thinking of it more as just like a cliche, funny phrase. Yeah. If indeed it's a reference to that's amazing. And it's still amazing that the fans came up with it, whether it's true or not.
And let's just mention that there's a bit of Haler resonance for like those who happen to believe in that particular area of mythology. That's a very popular t-shirt on the body of a certain pop star. The fact that the But Daddy I Love Him t-shirt is very much identified with a guy who was very much for a long time rumored to be playing a role in the film version of The Little Mermaid. It's fuel on the fire. It's fuel on the fire. It's low-hanging fruit.
It's funny that I got all the way to Little Mermaid and I missed this whole thing of someone with the initials HS wearing the But Daddy I Love Him t-shirt. And when is that? What year? When is that from?
Fine Line era.
But he's wearing the t-shirt in the era when they weren't hanging out. So it's that would be a weird reference. Fresh Out the Slammer, also an amazing, you got to hear that, you know where it's going, but maybe you don't.
I'll be honest, the song titles, I don't know where we're going with this. The Fresh Out the Slammer one, I was like, where are we going?
It's almost like she handed her phone to Lana and said, Lana, come up with 16 song titles on notes, hand it back to me, and I guarantee I will write the album to go with those song titles.
LOML does seem like it should be on the Ariana album instead. It's like really seems like it should be Ariana Grande song. Fascinating. It's very un-Taylor, really. Clara Bow, though, it's amazing that doesn't already exist.
Yeah, that's really a masterstroke.
I'm a little scared to hear the smallest man who ever lived, and I think I know someone else who's scared to hear it.
Do you want to speculate?
No. Until I said it out loud, I was figuring it's about in spirit, in heart. I'm sure that's what we're talking about here. I mean nothing else. But yes, Who's Afraid of Little Me definitely could be it feels very Reputation-esque. That could definitely be a Reputation song. But yes, they're funny. I've rarely seen more intriguing song titles in advance of an album. And So Long London is the one, if you want to know the one that made me laugh. Well, yeah.
It's like, this girl has been writing about London since like 2012. She's been writing songs dedicated to the city of London for over a decade now. London, over.
Yes, she's in the clarification of personal policy. God, I no longer love the English quite as much as I used to.
She said Independence Day is here to stay.
Then, of course, there's the bonus tracks, the manuscript, the bolter, the albatross, and the black dog. They sound like in some kind of like obscure cult, like the last few levels you have to go through in order to reach the highest level. You have to experience the manuscript, then you have to go through the bolter, you have to overcome the albatross, and finally you have to fight the black dog, and then only then will you reach the highest level of spiritual perfection.
Yeah, honestly, the level of 70s prog or song titles give, and the fact that they're on 4 different editions of the album, I'll just level with you. I'll just be very like candid, not autobiographical. I ordered 2 different versions of the cassette to get both of the bonus songs. I'm very wedded to the idea of hearing the bonus songs on cassette. There's something like so beautifully topographic about the whole thing. I just love it.
Yes, it should be noted, it's the Black Dog, not to be confused with Black Dog. Because if it was a Black Dog cover, we truly would be. We heard she doesn't like acid rock. That would be like, it would be truly stunning.
And we've got Peter Green in there. That's Albatross and the Black Dog. Maybe she's going to do a bonus track version of the Green Manalishi.
Certainly among the most unexpected musical directions would be if what she should do would be like, let slip that is influenced by Fleetwood Mac. People go nuts, but then it turns out it's by pre-Stevie. It's all Peter Green, Fleetwood Mac.
Totally. Just imagine the Battle of Evermore featuring Post Malone.
That's probably what Post Malone is doing right now. I don't know if you're familiar with Post Malone. He's recording that with Dave Grohl as we speak for some kind of charity. The little bits of information combined with the overall true lack of information have caused speculation to go wild. People are writing fan fiction descriptions of the sound of the album and attributing them to publications.
People are so much trying to piece together what happened just based off of the song titles that I've seen literally 10-minute TikTok videos of people being like, here's what happened in their relationship based solely off of the lines that we've gotten and the song titles. And I'm like, we have not heard a single song yet.
The description that was floating around where people were like, and again, people mistook it to be true, which it combines the sonic diversity of Red with the something of possibly either Lover or folklore. And people were like, yes, exactly what I wanted. And so this is totally made up, but good to know. It would not be surprising if it sonically continued off of Midnights. It's not inconceivable. It's also, or the short way to say it is we have no fucking idea, but it also could be something totally different, especially since you think everything that leaked was fake. If you had to guess at this sound, Rob, which is totally unfair question because it's purely guess. What does your heart tell you, or what do you want it to be sonically?
Wow, those are bold questions. She could go anywhere. I'm just speaking based on absolutely zero information. I'm getting a lot of rock from these titles, and particularly something about beginning with Fortnite featuring Post Malone, which a title which will never stop being funny. And also like the Florence and the Machine feature. There's something, and even just the album title and the graphics so far. Her 3rd black and white album cover after Reputation and Folklore. Would very much love to think that it's a trilogy with those 2, which are 2 of her most extreme albums and 2 of her most conceptually unified albums. But it seems like there's something about the abundance of punctuation in these album titles. And also, as Brittany said, Clara Bow is like the perfect last song on the album. Also, a very Stevie Nicks thing to do. It's very much Stevie Nicks' song that I'm sure all 3 of us love, Mabel Normand, about the movie star from the same Clara Bow silent films era who had a tragic fall because of her spiritual affinities with Stevie Nicks and how Stevie Nicks relates to that story. Mabel Normand was a Hollywood it girl, but Clara Bow was the it girl. The term it girl was invented for her. She was in the movie It. She was the definition of an it girl, and her tragic rise and fall, just the fact that this is, as Brian, as you said, it's weird that this isn't already the song that Taylor has used as a song title. It's weird that it hasn't already been used as the last song on an album.
There is, I think the dream of a Taylor rock album will never die.
It will come out.
She's already made rock albums, whatever, but it's particularly read, but in parts. Certainly the version of rock that floats in my mind is the famous 1989 tour, We Are Never Ever Getting Back Together, where she just sends it into the rock stratosphere and just casually lets everyone know this is something that she could do at will. It's hard to imagine a sort of like Joan Jett rock album. It seems, I think, wildly unlikely, a whole album along those lines. However, it is a tool in her arsenal, so nothing should be ruled out. We did Taylor Mania, and then we talked about the Eras Tour movie. In between was really when this Taylor Mania we thought it was already, this other thing has happened. More so since the last time we spoke about this level of the football Taylor emerged and the insane sort of cultural reaction to all that, which is, it's been digested. We didn't talk about the obvious fact that she is a CIA plant or NSA or whatever this is, whatever agency that her whole career has been leading up to this point, and that she's going to endorse Biden at a key moment and thus swing the election. Her relationship with Travis has all been planned. It's the dude from the 1975 was in on it as well. It was all set up. It's all been, Harry was in on it. It's a massive conspiracy all leading up to, and she admits it, and mastermind it. It's all admitted. So it's clearly all real. And it is interesting to see, this next, that there was a level beyond Taylor Mania of attention. We already had 20,000 people outside the stadiums, and then it went to this other level. I don't think it's getting to her, and I'm not sure it's going to affect the art. She's used to it at this point, even though no human being could be used to it. But it's just notable to, you think that a human being could not become more prevalent in the culture than they already are, and then they become even more prevalent. I literally am lost for words. It's mind-boggling to see this level of fame. And if it were anyone else, I'd be worried about them psychologically and artistically, about how they could create in the face of this. But this is one person who's proven that if this person can make this entire album while doing all these other things, clearly compartmentalization is not an issue for her. But still, it's really something. I don't know.
Yeah. I think the time when it would have affected her art, I feel like it's so different in a way. It's obviously much bigger and much more widespread and more like all-consuming. The level of fame that she has in this moment is like something so beyond anything. But I feel like she's obviously been at a very high level of fame for a really long time. Again, like nothing can prepare anyone for this level. But I think the way that her music and the way that her life was talked about has changed dramatically in a way that like clearly the way that people talked about her dating life and like the way that people talked about whether or not she was really writing her songs or whether or not she was a good singer, like all that stuff early in her career did have a bit of a psychological effect on her, and she clearly was responding with each album to it. Whereas the level of fame that she has now feels so almost separate in a way. Like I feel like the way that people talk about her and Travis is so different than the way that people talked about her past relationships. And I feel like the way that people, even like the expectation of a breakup album or like what it would entail for her is so different. Like a part of me feels like the titles are over the top, where I feel like they're like a red herring in a way of what the expectation of the album could be. But yeah, I don't know. I think the time when it would have probably affected the art or the music was when she's 19 to 21, and people are like talking about her dating life the way that they were, and she found a way to fight back against that. So yeah, I think now she's obviously been at the most creatively free that she's been in her career and her life. So I think that I feel less concerned about that because the way that people talk about her is different in a way.
She already painted herself as the monster on a hill too big to hang out, although she hangs out all the time, actually. People are just itching to start a backlash. It isn't going to work. There's this, ludicrous right-wing backlash that even like a lot of right-wingers who aren't totally crazy don't take seriously. It's not like a real backlash. There is also, people are trying to find things to pin on her. I'm just a little bit obsessed with the utter ridiculousness of this thing where she coughed maybe 3 times in a 3-hour show. And people are like, first of all, there's no proof whatsoever that she had COVID, and she doesn't because she then performed the next day. Even if she had COVID, there was one long TikTok in particular, but then a bunch of people being like, that's a shame, she's infecting her audience. They imagine that a singer, that Taylor coughing on stage could infect an audience of 70,000 people in an open air stadium. The grasp of physics and logic and non-insanity here is just mind-boggling. They tried to cancel her for coughing. One of the most amazing cancellation attempts I've ever seen in its audacity and madness. As someone pointed out, it's also someone's on stage with, if you've ever been on a stage or near like stage smoke, that stuff will make you cough. It's ridiculous. It does show that people are gunning for the smallest. There was the moment with Celine Dion where she was in her head trying to greet everyone on stage. Unintentionally, just because she was looking at someone else, blanked Celine Dion when she took the Grammy. And people were sure they were going to get her on that. They thought that was going to become a monster scandal. And instead, she immediately posted a picture with Celine backstage and diffused it. Good PR. She's got a strong PR team. Whoever that is, they're really on it. I bring that up only to just note, as has been the case for over a decade, but she's being gunned for. They're looking for, people are trying to find a thing, right? And it's talking about the plane, people are trying to find something that'll stick. They got really excited about the coughing thing. They really thought that was going to be a thing. Didn't work out, but it was a thing. So that's, people want to start a backlash. I think it's on a sort of pop sociological level. It's very interesting that she's already, it's like she has existing immunity from cancellation based on reputation error, right? It makes it very difficult to take her down again.
Yeah, I think first off, I think it's supernatural that this happens every single time. It's once you reach a certain height of fame, like people grow really tired of it and do not want to see your face anymore. But then they're forced to see your face all the time because you are so famous and have millions upon billions of people who want to see your face. I think of the 2014, 2015 sort of like Beyonce backlash. Remember those Super Bowl posts after her halftime show? And there was like all these articles, look at Beyonce, look not like Beyonce. People just were relishing Beyonce looking something other than perfection while she's performing in the middle of her halftime show. Or all of the pieces of trying to tear down her songs or like be like her feminism's fake. It's so natural, a part of it. And I think she's created in the same way that a lot of people who don't have anything that really is worthy of cancellation against them. I think she's been really smart in just leaning into the fame without responding to everything.
They tried really hard. I almost forgot. They tried really hard even as Taylor Mania was just starting. They tried really hard with Maddie Healy. Guilt by association. It was very frustrating for them that didn't work.
And I think also like she learned the lessons of like her 1989 era where she responded to everything. She was responding to Nicki Minaj tweets that were vague. And I think that sort of leans into the people creating problems, the idea that like she needs to be hated and vilified in that way. And I think the smartest thing most celebrities can do is just let it pass and not respond in a way that's needing to defend it. And I think that she's been really good at that. Like she's just gone on tour and continued to let the tour happen without responding to the CIA psyop conspiracy theories or responding to like the Super Bowl fans who feel like they're seeing her too much.
One thing we didn't talk about is, Rob, I think that we believe that in the remaining dates of the Eras tour, once this album comes out, an era will be added. That is your strong belief?
Absolutely.
How does that work? Does the show get even longer? Does it get snipped to incorporate it? Where does it go in the show? How does this work?
Here's what I think. The moment at the end of the show where she magically dives into a magical body of water and then reemerges, that's going to be the moment where she comes out on the other side as Tortured Poets Department, Taylor. That's going to be where that era begins.
Wow.
I've already done the blocking in my head.
Brittany, do you agree? Plausible? Oh, that was a no.
I think she is going to add songs to it. I don't know how I envision it. I think, is it cutting down midnights? I don't think she's going to make the show longer, but I do think it will come at the expense of some portions of the show. I don't know what they are yet, but I think some of them are going to get cut down.
Maybe she'll have to cut the debut era. Oh, wait. She left that one out entirely.
She's going to speak now.
She's going to say, sorry, Enchanted. I gave you a year.
I think she will cut down Midnights. I think she'll probably cut down some of Folklore and Evermore. But yeah, I can very much see her adding it to, she might cut surprise songs. It might be like adding these now.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I feel like she'd be less likely to cut surprise songs. I feel like that's such like a Taylor tour thing.
You can't do that.
Yeah.
The final date as of now of the Eras tour is December 8th. 2024 in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. And the question becomes, what's next? The rumor, I don't know if this has been confirmed, but the movie that she wrote or is writing and will direct, at least the rumor is that's next. That's interesting because presumably she's not acting in it, though maybe she is, but I would bet she's not. Maybe that's when there's a little bit of a step out of the limelight, just based on the idea that logic would possibly dictate that maybe you yourself would want to take a break, and also you'd want to avoid the quote unquote overexposure, if that's even an issue at this point. So could one imagine that's the next project and then there's time off from music, except maybe for the album that comes with the movie? Or do you think the whole idea of a break and stepping out of the limelight and even the idea of overexposure is a dated idea for someone like Taylor Swift and it's not a factor?
I think part of it is outdated just because the way that it functions now is so, even when she was doing nothing in the months between Red, Taylor's version, and Midnight's, that's when it was growing the most. That's when the things were like happening so much leading up to Midnight's. There's so much anticipation for Midnight's. All Too Well 10 Minutes was still massive. Like all of that was happening when she wasn't doing anything. She was literally like just hanging out. She was not even like going to stuff. Wasn't doing the dinners with all of the famous friends. Like she wasn't going to football games yet. She was going to the studio and that's the only time you'd see her. It's just because everything's happening online. Like her fandom is growing just from people listening to the music and sharing it with each other in digital spaces. And so I think it doesn't matter if she's not active anymore, because that's when her music has the most space to grow and people love that. Now I'll use a blank space of her being out of the limelight and they can theorize and think about what's going to happen next. And she's like the least enigmatic enigma that like exists in pop music. It's everyone loves that mythology and stuff.
She did say she'll never hide away again. One could be relatively inactive without hiding away, if you see what I mean.
Right.
Like,
realistically, it'll probably be a few years before she tours again. That's just a physical limitation that human beings have.
If I were her, though, I'd be like, I'm in such great shape, man. We should just go back out with a different tour.
Like, 2 more years.
Your voice is so strong. You're probably in the best shape of your life because you've been doing all this. Let's keep it going. But Rob, how do you see it? Is this still a world where it might be, hey, I should take a break. Hey, I want to give people a break from me. Or is that like a total non-factor?
Yeah, I think if that software were installed anywhere in her system, we would have seen it maybe flicker to life a bit. Like even her great song, The Lakes, about wandering around in the English countryside when there's no phone service and like the bartenders don't recognize who she is and there's flower blooming and no one's to tweet it. And she's going to put that song on an album. Like she's very much in go mode. Brittany, it's such a great point about that. It was just 2 years ago that everybody's like, what happened to Taylor Swift? She's in radio silence mode. It's total recluse mode. That was the great year where she was off social media, except once. The only time she went on social media was to complain about Damon Albarn.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about So Long London.
Yeah, her only appearance was the NYU thing.
And I saw her in June at the Tribeca Film Festival.
Yes.
And it was so wild because I was like, wow, she's standing on a stage. Those were really the only 2 times that she appeared anywhere before August when she announced the album and suddenly it was go. But it's really wild to think that it was just 2 years ago that people were like, whatever happened to Taylor Swift? She's like, not in terms of her music or her popularity, but in terms of what does she do with all her empty time? What is she on vacation or something?
It's even like the way that she describes 2016 to 2017 and being hidden away. It wasn't that long. She wasn't like that gone from stuff. Like even just the period between like the Kim Ye snake emoji era to the release and launch of Reputation was like a year. That's like not a long time to be away.
The low point of her career when she was selling out stadiums.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and it's wild that in terms of, it's funny that we were talking about will she stop just in terms of human limitations. It's clear that they just don't apply in this case. Certainly, none of the 3 of us would have imagined in our so-called wildest dreams that while she's been doing this entire Eras tour, that she was making an album in her spare time.
Yeah.
She was just like, oh yeah, in addition to all the tons of songs she's done for the re-records in that time, that she was also like, oh yeah, I'm also going to create this whole new Tortured Poets Department album. It's completely beyond what's even on the curve in terms of human capability.
She also may have been writing this album a few years ago. Is like a lot of the speculation, because You're Losing Me was written so much earlier than people people knew about, because Jack Antonoff, when it was officially released, made the very distinct choice to post the photo and be like, on this date in 2021 is when we wrote You're Losing Me. I think she's clearly working on a lot of projects at once. Also, again, wrote a movie in the time that she was writing all these albums too. It's like, who knows? She could have multiple albums under her belt right now that we don't know about.
And that's our show. We'll be back next week. In the meantime, subscribe to Rolling Stone Music Now, wherever you get your podcasts. And please leave us 5 stars and a nice review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, because that's always appreciated. But as always, thanks so much for listening, and we will see you next week.